As a public service, I'd like to remind everyone this Saturday night at midnight, so as to, on behalf at least of us who are in the we want more daylight time zone, set your calendars up a month before you go to bed. And now the news. Locked in a room. At first, one man tried to escape vertically, then laterally, and finally approached the problem by simply pushing against any and all retaining structures he found making up his room. Making a touchdown is not bad, but there's really nothing quite like a good, full-blown explosion. Surveying the scene as laid out in the mirror before him, the man mused. So, first we had the grand prize, then the runner-ups award, then the best of show ribbon, then the Western Division pennant, then the mentally challenged presidential citation, and now this. A sentiment delivered so vitriolly that the mercury about the mirror began to bubble. More hints regarding a man tending his garden, or even his mind. Conversation. First voice. I don't care what you call it. I saw what you did. Second voice responds. I don't care what you call it. It's what you saw me do. When it comes to news, all news is local news. Homegrown, home-baked, totally invented, right here, at home. A man found the sign announcing Gravity Clinic irresistible. Stuck his head in the door and asked, does it mean that you teach seriousness or that you make people weigh more? And from inside a voice cooed, yes, come in. Two brothers went to their father, and one of them pointed to the other one and said, he claims that part of what everyone knows is correct. Is that so? And the old man looked at them intently and said, do I know you too? And one of them realized that he had answered the question. Stupidity and clumsiness are addictive. Just look how they feed on themselves. And the final stock report. The closing averages of the day read, man up 2 points, not man down 2. Check back tomorrow and see them reversed and balanced yet again. Something overheard. A sales pitch, perchance? Thoughts come in all shapes, sir. That's right. You can get a thought to fit anything you have in mind. After living in a certain city for a while and becoming accustomed to its ways, one citizen said, feeling guilty is what feeling is all about. And as the Chamber of Commerce choir began singing, it's now or never, a stranger was heard to offer his personal correction. No, it's now and it's always now. And even when it's not, it's still not, never. And the carolers, for their grievous error, fell sorely ashamed, and deep feelings of guilt were shared by all. Told you that's what it's all about, noted good citizen he. And one man said, I'm not coming out till the weather worsens. And someone in the yard said, it's a calling your name right now. And he said, I'll be right out. Those of you that might be just tuning in, this is not like the ordinary news. See, it's not what it appears to be about. And if you think it's just about what it appears to be about, I assume it sounds probably a little funny. So you're supposed to be participating and figuring out that it's not talking about this. Either that or not. Two types strike while the danger is hot. Fools and those on a destiny with danger. Homemade danger. There are two worlds in which there is no let up. The sensation is automatic and illusionary, while in the other, it is a result of conscious effort. There's more space in a locked room than you imagine. In fact, there is no limit to the space in a locked room, which is what makes it so frustrating in there. One guy offers the following as his latest discovery. The antidote for uncertainty is not certainty, for all mental certainty carries with it its own infectious virus of new uncertainty. Don't call a doctor. Send for Attila or General Sherman. As soon as he arose each morning, one man would say to himself, "What's the worst thing that can possibly happen to me today? Besides going back to sleep while my eyes are open." One guy said, things aren't too bad. But to get to Radio City last night, I had to park in Albany and walk in, and gum is up to $87 a pack. But all in all, on one world, it is against the law to mention a dead man. The time normally incurred between itch and scratch strikes most people as being 75 to 90% overpriced. Once local conditions reach optimum complexity, they either disappear or else cause those who realize what happened to. One man says the biggest drawback to thinking about the future is that it takes away time from thinking about the past. As long as you're still telling yourself what you're doing, you're still in some doubt as to what you're doing. Do tell. Yeah. Oh, swell. As he looked at the reflective light momentarily turned back on himself, on to his own mental world, a man said to himself, "It seems that I have spent my entire life attempting to return the wilds back into a specific endangered species." My cerebral outburst. Rather than submit to the rigors of long-term, intense, and complex methods to change one's condition of consciousness, one man attempted to have his brain Teflon coated. No premise, no opposition. No opposition, no uncertainty. No uncertainty, no need for a premise. A father so inquired of a son, "Could not things be arranged so that increased needs equaled increased deeds?" One guy says to another guy, "You know, it's funny, but just talking to myself gets me more pissed off than talking with anyone else." Another guy replies, "Well, I guess that means you just like you more than you do anybody else." And the first guy goes, "You think so?" "Could be," says the other guy. "Well, damn," says the first guy, "ain't that a bitch?" Another guy says, "You know, you're right. It is funny." "Funny your ass," says the first guy, now suddenly realizing that here he is again, talking to himself. Anything you do outside your pants is theater and hobby. Mere pastimes of the mind. Life said to one man, "I'll make a deal with you. As long as you're alive, don't ever say that you have a problem." And the man says, "So what do I get in return?" And life plays a large, active volcano in his backyard. Transmission and reception are the same thing once you understand what transmission and reception are. I know I must be hearing something. I can see my ears move. You can lead a man to the obvious, but you can't make him face it. The difference between you and not you is the same difference as between this and not this. From ground zero Earth, there are two futures, the big future and the small future. The big future is death. The small future is whatever you can stir up between now and then. On his own, one man, even sans design training, came to the conclusion that it is simply not possible to redecorate a locked room. Some man's main source of nourishment is boredom. If you remain in the dark, you don't have to sweat job security. A boy asked his father, earlier note was made of local conditions reaching an optimum of complexity. But is that really possible? Not exactly, his old man replied. For local conditions exist only in the minds of men. So what can occur is for an individual here and there to gain such a wide understanding of immediate life around him as to constructively, and so far as regards his concerns then, cause perceived conditions to achieve a critical, thus altering state of complexity, which now leads to the individual's mind, which now reads to the individual's mind as extreme simplicity. And the lad smilingly shook his head and said, "It always turns out that it's always the same thing, doesn't it? Always the same thing." This kind of activity may be the one exception to everything. Being swift on your feet means nothing if you're not swift in your mind, which is why working to be swift on your feet is always a more popular pastime. A father told his son, there is the great action and there are the inferior actions. And the inferiors are to be pursued so as to bring on the great one. The depths of non-understanding. All problems are 5D failures manifested in a 3-dimensional world. Because of their stupidity, the stupid cannot realize their stupidity. But neither can a zebra find himself amidst football referees. You got to leave home to see home. The speaker addressed the banquet. There are 4 ways in which to worry. You can worry before something happens, you can worry while it happens, and you can worry after it happens. And before he could sit down, someone yelled out, "Hey, what about number 4? "Oh, that's not to worry," he replied as a hot cross bun sailed by his head. As his plane gained altitude, one man thought to himself over the intercom, "What I want is freedom. Freedom from nothing, to do nothing, and to be nothing. What less can freedom be?" As he threatened to throw him out of the garden, God said to Adam, "Am I going to have to force you to ignore the obvious?" One up-to-date man of the modern telecommunication age thinks of being more conscious as improved reception. A father called his son to attention and barked at him, "How can you call yourself a fighting force if you cannot properly identify the enemy?" And the boy answered by kicking himself in the ankle, thereby somehow causing the old man to jump with pain. There is a certain harbor area in which large ships who know something beyond the nautical are required to have tugboats accompany them to help maneuver them around the smaller craft. All collective reality is local. Local and meaningless. As the boy grew, on succeeding birthdays, his father handed to him a series of gifts. First was a microscope for the mind. Then came a telescope for awareness. And finally, he took the lad out in the backyard, slapped him upside the head smartly, ripped off his glasses and smashed them, then threw him into the reflecting pool and revealed to him the fact that he was not, in fact, the boy's father, but was, in fact, everybody's old man. And with that, the lad picked himself up, brushed himself off, and as he struggled to refocus his sight and regain some ordinary state of consciousness and staggered unsteadily toward the house, thought to himself, man, I hope this means I'm 21. There is a place where change is not seen as a condition, much less a problem. One guy's sentiment is that when you're fully defeated, at least then you can relax for a while. No need to dream of being dead when you already are. And now the latest news regarding adhesives. All glue is old glue. The needed results continue to take so long coming that they're always too late. Remember now, all glue is outdated glue. One planet's motto, thinking is thinking, pretending is pretending. Thinking is pretending, pretending is thinking. And now over to our real-life kitchen for some tips from our real-life chef. All thoughts are user-hungry. Plus, they're all old, sticky, and outdated, and not at all fit for alert human consumption. Thank you, Chef. Now it's showtime again. There's reputed to be a place wherein, if the preface to your act is just right, you don't need any talent.
Yeah.
What do you mean you know where that place is? I thought you looked familiar. Even though thoughts are irrelevant, their irrelevancy is inoperable until realized by them. Should I hold my breath, Daddy? No, son, don't hold your breath. 'Tis said there was a land where they believed the study of man was only proper when it was the study of anything but man. One guy's idea for a new philosophy, if not in fact religion, he pictures as being called, our ideas don't suck any more than anybody else's. He's yet to attract any financial backing, I might add. Now some royal news. Being king's just a business. Just another business. Two brothers tracked down their father, and one of them nodded toward the other one and said, he insists that, contrary to common belief, things cannot be properly understood by comparing them to other things. Can he be correct? And the old man squinted at the two studiously and asked, which of you said that? And the you of the which, or else the which of the you, understood that an answer had been laid before them. The roots of coincidence not only run deep, but wide and extremely heavy also. You can't get away when there's nowhere to get away to. The mind may be short on proven solutions, but it can always reinvent the problems. A man told his brother, feeling good about your opinions is only half the story. And his sibling beamed, or as his sibling beamed, the man added, The problem is, which half is it? And the brother became unbeamed. Disbeamed? The unrecognized intellectual balance within locked rooms is such that everyone knows more than everyone else, if they want to look at it like that. When one man heard it said that insouciance could be an exact science, he asked, how so? And was replied that, same as how seriousness is. If anything in the world of man fully satisfies you, then you belong in the world of man. If anything in the realm of the mind fully satisfies you, then you belong to the realm of the mind. One man refuses to read fiction, at least says he, until he stops living it. Perhaps the most radical, unbridgeable distinction between the many and the few is that the many can never understand what the few are about, while to the few, the lives of the many couldn't be more obvious. For, had they not undertaken the life of the few, their life would still be that of the many. So it is a much simpler matter than distracting questions of who's right and who's wrong, or who's the smarter and who's the dumber. For the existence of oceans do not prove ponds invalid. It is simply that the former can absorb all of the latter, but night. Vice versa, vice versa, versa. Vice versa. One man's latest observation. You can only truly take it or leave it when you understand that there is no choice. You do not, as yet, comprehend the nature of words if you believe that there are such things as foreign languages. When a few men initially became interested in trying to make themselves more knowledgeable and conscious of what they and life were about, they started out fashioning extremely complex, intricate, and far-reaching mental structures and systems through which they might pursue their aim. Then, later, after they better understood what was going on, those who understood best dismantled, destroyed, or otherwise deserted such frameworks and left those who understood less to promote and defend them. In the attempt to do this, you're faced with a singularity of problems and a plurality of solutions. Or perhaps you've gotten off on a side road and then you're faced with a plurality of problems and a singularity of solutions. One man headed an organization known as the Friends of Freedom, in which he was the sole member and which had nothing to do with political or social restraints. A man mused, I wonder if they'll ever make a movie of my life. Hell, I wonder if they'll ever make a life of my life. As soon as he got to town, he ran to a phone booth to look up the address of the Bureau of Missing Intelligence. One man's picture of thoughts developed into this: them as spokespersons for some foreign government. The only way it'll work, concluded one guy, is to feed a roach and starve a dinosaur. You got to know which side of progress your parade is buttered on. As he looked into that special mirror, it, in reaction to what it saw, said, a man in trouble is trouble. Have we no room to brag? The headline. Don't be smug. Life can do just as little as you. What the many call information and entertainment are for the senses. How the few perceive this is at drastic variance. One man claims he has uncovered the grand conspiracy, the ultimate, the final, the one and only mother of them all conspiracy. The conspiracy of certainty within a locked room. Try and get out of that one, he sneers over his shoulder as he left. All so-called instructions regarding how to become individually more conscious, one man began to privately think of as being the serious making up of quite foolish matters. Glancing backwards at a mirror, hanging in the sun next to a pool, a man saw, "My life is now just a metaphor of a previous allegory." The strange thing about living on this planet and in a human head is that what you think is what you think. Some aeronautical good news. If you're not engaged in your own private space explorations, you're not truly involved in the search for expanded awareness. When a fact has a premise, it can be right at best, but half the time, a one-way street on which you have a 50-50 chance. Forget it. Get real. Wise up. Within a locked room, there is no such thing as revolution. Get real. Wise up. After making a striking mental discovery, a man said to his thoughts, "Well, now I guess I owe you one." And his thoughts replied, "One what?" Now for our food news, mixed greens. Whenever the cosmic yells, "Get out of the garden," the molecular whispers, "Don't leave your room." Can anything be inferior to a copy of an original? Consider how thought continually sustains itself with itself. We're all immigrants, but in a manner you wouldn't believe. There are areas in this universe where the memory of what originally occurred is still fresh. One day a father set a son down and to him so confided, "You recall that once I told you that thinking should be fun?" And the lad nodded that yes, he remembered being so told, and the elder continued, "Well, now I want to expand that for you thusly. Thinking should be done faster, much, much faster." And before the boy could ask this be made more specific, the old man added, "So fast, in fact, that it becomes a near nonsensible blur." Look at it this way. It is we humans who are in life's best interest. Okay. Now look at it like this. It is life that is in our best interest. To be more widely conscious than everyone else where you live is like being info that is imported. A man thought, if this gets any plainer, I'm going to drown in the obvious. For efforts well taken, after he died, and thus came to life, one man's reward was to go to a place where they had no answer for the question, "How you doing?" Traveler's tip. A window seat guarantees but one thing. Would you repeat that? Surely. A window seat guarantees but one thing. Can I sit next to you? Dead and done. Now that's the way to travel. One man's personal shibboleth for a while was much excitement wrapped in extreme calm. And if not that, much calm amidst extreme excitement. A sailor with no sails still has himself. Himself. A father so confided to a son. Being ordinary never occurred to me as an option. And finally, one man's motto is, don't be misled by cheap mental imitations. It's very important to keep the news straight.